go.
But the senator, while indoctrinated, could not explain his toxicity.
You should not listen to men's rights advocates if you want to know what they have to say.
Coming to you live from deep within an icy, but windy, and also sometimes sunny, radioactive meme land. We are the survivors of the alt-right kek apocalypse, the few, the brave, the bitchy, once more wading into battle against the lobster hordes with Rantzerker 104. Adult Swim talks about campus rape dolls, and campus rape and dolls. Adult Swim talks about campus rape and dolls.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like, and dolls, not just campus rape, but also dolls.
Yeah, no, the dolls.
Okay, all right.
The dolls.
All right, so the sex dolls. I assume it's the sex dolls, right? Not something.
They're not sex dolls here. They're learning apparatuses.
Oh, so they're sort of like those first aid course dolls where you learn how to do CPR, except these ones teach people to rape.
Yeah, it's sexutainment.
Oh, okay, gotcha. All right, so it's going to be a short show today because after we're done, Brian is going to jump into a rental car and speed off to possibly talk to Crowder and cover any happenings during Crowder's Change My View at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. So we'll just be offering the super chat option for half an hour and then doing a half hour after show. So ready those super chats. And let's just start. Let's do it. Let's
do it.
We don't need any back and forth. Let's just get right into it.
All right, here we go.
Sometimes hard issues need a light touch. I'm Jenna Friedman, and this is Soft Focus. In tonight.
Go ahead.
I'm skeptical of this format. So
she said hard.
So this is a comedy format looking at campus rape, what they call the campus rape crisis. That's what this is, in comedy. Because I get from other feminist comedic efforts, I get the feeling that they're using comedy as part of the Bott and Bailey. Did I say that right?
Mott and Bailey.
Mott and Bailey kind of tactics. So they use comedy. So you say, well, I'm going to treat this seriously. And they say, no, this was intended for comedy. So you mean all the stats you talked about were intended for comedy? All of the things that you implied were intended for comedy? And the instant I take this seriously, you're going to be like, oh, no, that was intended to be laughed at. But if it's intended to be laughed at, then it's not the truth. So what you're saying is that everything you're presenting now is a lie, intended to be humorous? Or what? Like, do you guys get what I'm saying with this new feminist?
Yes. I don't understand the, like, I watched a video earlier today called it was put on by some fake organization called the Association of Women Against Tiredness or something like that, where they were complaining about how they'd really just like to be housewives again. And it was supposed to be sarcastic, but it actually came off as sincere. That women are burnt out, they're worn out, they're unhappy, that, they don't like the working world. They never, I spend my days 60 hours a week designing kitchens, and I haven't been able to prepare a meal in my own for years because I'm working all the time, and this sucks, right? And I'm thinking these are actually like genuine complaints on the part of women these days, and so it's very, very hard for me to figure out whether they were trying to be sarcastic and it just didn't work, or whether they were trying to be genuine and mask it in sarcasm, or what. So
Okay,
Very
just
strange.
just a point of technicality, Brian. If you're typing, could you mute while you type? Because it's really echoing.
Okay.
And yeah, it's the like I said, I think this is a tactic. I think that what they're going to do is they're going to put forth sincerely held beliefs, and then when you say I don't think that these beliefs are necessarily accurate to reality, they're going to be like, well, we were just joking, bro, ha ha ha. It's an annoying tactic, and I think it's another aspect of how they're trying to take over language and turn it into a tool of this kind of moral dominance. And they're
Well, and I
using
think
comedy amazingly.
And I think too, because it's Adult Swim, right? Because it's mainstream television, really. I think that like they are playing by the feminist playbook in terms of putting out the statistics and defining it as a crisis and all of that stuff, right? So like because you don't see people on you know Cartoon Network or wherever, Comedy Central, really putting out the counter narrative in a sincere way. So I'm thinking that like the statistics and the general premise of this, that there's this big epidemic of rape on campus and something needs to be done about it. I think that that's all probably put forth in a genuine manner. And so, I mean, like, and it's very, I found it very kind of strange and uncomfortable to sort of take this humorous approach to what I believe the producers of this see as a genuine problem.
Yeah, that is like, who greenlit this? Yeah, let's make a joke about something that we consider to be a serious issue, akin to like almost like genocide. Yeah, let's. And I mean, of course, you can have black humor about it. Maybe that's where they're going. They're engaging in some rape jokes, which I thought were verboten. Like we can't do that anymore. Well, let's see how taboo they get. Brian,
Tonight's
take it
episode,
away.
we explore love and connection. But first, rape. In the wake of reports of sexual assaults on college campuses like UNC, USC, Cal Arts, Pomona, Kenyon, Harvard, Princeton, Columbia, Brown, WashU, Tufts, Stanford, and over.
Pausing for the banana. It goes a bit.
Yeah.
It goes a bit longer.
Okay,
Go ahead.
What is funny? So I guess what's funny about it is that she has to name every institution in the U.S. and eventually she runs out of steam. But I'm trying to see who would laugh at this. I'm trying to get into the framework where this is actually funny. All of these institutions, horrible things are happening. So many of them, ha ha ha, that I can't even list them all.
Yeah, these horrible atrocities are going on in every university in the country. Teehee.
I mean, from my perspective, gallows humor or dark humor can be funny, but only if what is being spoken about is true. So because I know that this isn't true, it can't possibly be funny. At least not in the way that they intend, because I know that they're lying or they're passing along bad information. And then because I mean, I think what makes stuff funny is it has to be true first. And then you can make a joke about it. If it's a lie, it's just, I don't think that you can use it for this kind of humor.
Well, okay, so there's the joke, the idea that men are so awful. Like, is that the joke? Because I'm just trying to. Where is the humor in this? There has to be, because they're labeling this comedy, so there must be some perspective at which you can laugh at it. So she's listing all of these institutions where she's saying these horrible things are happening. And then, of course, the joke is that she gets exhausted in the process because it's just happening everywhere. But that's funny. Why is that funny? What is the perspective upon which that becomes funny?
Well, I don't know. Maybe it's just essentially the ridiculousness of the entire situation, where she's sort of trying to take this light approach, this soft approach, and and sort of I don't know. Let's move on, because I have other things to do.
Baffling. This is baffling. Okay.
It is. It's quite.
200 other universities under federal investigation. Administrators are struggling to find ways to combat the problem. So I decided to help by taking a page from another public health crisis, teen pregnancy. It just cooed?
It just cooed, yeah. We have a program called Baby Think It Over, which is designed to reduce teen pregnancy. Students take a baby home with them over the weekend and treat it as if they were the parents.
Just a banana pause. So if you guys want, chime in when you want. But
I'm actually curious where this is going now.
Yeah, well, I mean, I watched a little bit, maybe about 20 seconds further in, and I do think it's going in the direction of sex dolls being sort of the, just like these baby dolls teach young women to not have babies as teenagers, because, here you're stuck for the weekend looking after this baby. Then the sex dolls will somehow teach men not to be rapey, I guess, is what I think that they're setting up here. So,
well, you know what? This does have I can give this one compliment. It definitely is a different approach. I've never seen this approach before. And all of our Rantzerking, this is definitely sort of coming out from left field here. It's got me intrigued.
I like what you did there.
Well, I mean, it kind of reminds me a little bit of, some of Samantha Bee's stuff that she did on The Daily Show. That's sort of the thing that this interview here is sort of set up in such a way that, in a similar way to what those Samantha Bee interviews were often set up to do, which is, to make the person who's being interviewed look ridiculously uncomfortable or kind of confused or whatever, right? So it's, yeah. So I like that's the general feel that I think that they're going for, is one of those old news stories on The Daily Show by someone like Samantha Bee. So,
all right.
Well, let me read a couple super chats first, because we're starting to get them. Joey Jojo gave us $2 and says, "Didn't Adult Swim give Sam Hyde a TV show?" And Zaranx gives us $5 and says, "The joke is that majority of colleges and universities are female dominated, similar to cases in prisons being funny because males are the majority there." Okay.
Okay, that didn't really shed any light for me, but thank you. Okay.
They were the parents.
Let's do it.
Do you think these dolls could prevent other public health crises?
Like what kind?
Campus rape.
I don't.
You didn't say no, so I'll just take it as a yes.
Jesus Christ! All right, you got me. That was actually a funny exchange.
Yeah, that's the Samantha Bee style thing that they're setting up. The Samantha Bee style interview. Where the interviewer plays the total straight man but says completely ridiculous things, and the interviewee is just kind of left flabbergasted and confused.
All right, let's go.
Remember when Adult Swim was cartoons?
Yeah, I do. I remember that fondly.
If baby dolls could educate high school
remember
kids on
Robot
safe sex?
Chicken?
I love Robot
Yes,
Chicken.
I love Robot Chicken.
Yeah.
Robot Chicken was the best, especially Keanu brand sausages.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. I remember those.
It's not a good morning unless you wake up with a little Keanu in your mouth or something like that.
I love those. Also, the Venture Brothers is amazing. But anyway, continuing on.
Educate high school kids on safe sex. What type of dolls could educate college guys?
Oh, this one is Kiki.
Meet Brian. Totally not creepy Brian.
I run a...
I take that personally. But moving on.
Yeah,
CEO of Silicon
totally
Wives.
not creepy. Totally not creepy. Okay, so
Yeah.
it's what's interesting is that one of the failures of humor in this is that when you are the ones who sort of are creating the lines of morality and belonging, it's really difficult to be simultaneously the ones creating the lines of belonging and the ones poking at those lines and finding them and making jokes about them, because that's what jokes are. They find the line, those unspoken lines where we have these conflicts, these emotional conflicts between what is acceptable and what we want, and they poke at them. And women are the ones who lay down what is acceptable, and it's really hard to simultaneously do that, to call this guy creepy by laying down the lines of what's socially acceptable, and then play with those lines in order to get laughs. So I think this is the real awkwardness with feminist humor, is that it presumes that women are both the ones laying down the social lines of what's acceptable behavior and also playing with those lines. You can't do both. It's painful to try to do both. Okay.
Moving on.
We run a business called Silicon Wives, and we sell sex dolls, female dolls, male dolls, and then smaller toys as well.
Smaller toys as
like torsos,
limbs,
hips,
and body
limbs, yeah,
parts.
feet, yeah.
Okay, are those also f***able?
Yeah, they're all like for sexual
But
purposes.
the feet
yeah.
are f***able?
We have feet that, you can use them for feet, but you can also, they have like vaginas in the, where the ankles would be.
All right, that's genuinely weird. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. Okay? I'm not saying that if you buy one of these things and stick your dick in it, that you are destined to become the next guy in Ontario who's, cutting people up and putting them in garden planters. Okay, but that's a little weird.
Well,
but then I always thought dildos were weird, except for strap-ons. Strap-ons I don't find weird, but like dildos themselves are, that are designed
dildos are pretty
use on your own. I always thought those wose were weird.
I'm pretty sure.
Genitals, a little weird.
A little. I'm pretty sure that Quentin Tarantino and that guy who was recently fired from Nickelodeon would disagree, but vaginas and feet is a little bit strange. Yes.
Yeah. But like Karen's saying, dildos are a little strange too.
They are.
Just cut off the don't want anything else to do with an entire gender. Just the penis. That's fine.
I met a girl in college when I was in university last, who bought a dragon dildo. Do you guys know what the dragon dildos are? They're these extra large, super natural looking dildos, like with scales and like bristles, like a dragon, like a spine. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I could see buying something like that as a work of art. I know a glassblower who made a female friend of his a beautiful glass dick and balls with wings on the testicles, colored wings on the testicles, and it was life size, and she could use it in that way. If she wanted to, but I think she just put it on her little shelf of knickknacks and cute things that she had. But essentially, I just, the whole idea that sex dolls, which are attempting to be as close to a full woman as possible, right, is dehumanizing. Whereas women buy these freaking dismember, like just a universal cock, not attached to a man, right, and pleasure themselves with it, right, masturbate with it, that's somehow like not objectifying or dehumanizing or disregarding men's humanity, right, and all of that. I just find it very, very strange that we have this weird double standard. Like when you look at sex dolls, and sex bots, which they're trying to, come out with. What they're going for is the closest thing to a real woman as you could possibly, a whole real woman as you could possibly get. I guess without the nagging and the, screaming at you and throwing things, I guess. But
that's an extension. That's an option. It's probably
but obviously, men are more likely to want the entire, as close to the entire human being as possible, right? Whereas women, they just want that one part, and that's it. I mean,
it is actually remarkable because these sex dolls are becoming more and more lifelike, so to the point where they have even personalities. They are even putting in to that personality recalcitrance or coyness. So you have to actually court your sex doll. You have to actually get its consent. And so as much as possible, they're trying to emulate a real human being as much as possible. For men, that's what men want. Women, just whack off a penis. That's fine. We're good. That's all we need. Just the one part. No human attached to it. We don't need the personality. We don't need the coyness. We don't need to have to court. We don't need the rest of the body. Just the one thing. Whack it off. That's good for us. Yeah. And men are the ones who are dehumanizing women. Right. That's a sly trick there.
I know it's very, very strange how they could have that attitude, and that whole thing with Paris's first sex doll brothel, right? And the feminists wanted to shut it down, and the city essentially said no, you can't. But the reason they wanted to shut it down was because they said it encouraged rape or something like that. And I'm thinking, these are men who are going to get, I guess, it's the same thing, I think, with feminists who don't like escorts or sex workers who give men the full girlfriend experience, right? So they spend the whole evening with you, maybe 4 hours. You go on a date, they're nice to you, they talk to you, and the whole bit, and the sex part of it is often sort of the smallest part of it, right? And they're like, well, this is dehumanizing to women, and it's like, what they want to actually have an interaction that's as close to a dating experience as possible with a woman who they feel like they can expose their vulnerabilities to, because it's not going to end in a relationship, and so they're not revealing their soul to a woman who's gonna, like Bill Burr said, when you're fighting with your girlfriend and she, they go rogue when they know they're wrong, they go rogue, and then they start cooking they got the cauldron and they're just stirring up and cooking up this one statement, right? That's just going to make you freak out so bad that you just call them a cunt. And now we're in this room now. Well, you didn't have to call me a cunt, but they pull all of those things that you've shared with them, right? You feel like you're going to grow old alone. You feel like you're going to be, you're not going to have a family. You feel like you're going to be turn out just like your dad, all of these things, right? And they put all of that in, right? All of these things that you've shared with your girlfriend or your wife that make the things that make you vulnerable, the things that are
actually
weaknesses.
Some of the worst ones are like my babysitter raped me when I was 6.
Yeah, there you go.
And they'll throw that out.
Yeah, and then they just use it against you when they're fighting. And so when these men get these sort of escorts or sex workers to give them sort of full girlfriend experience or whatever, there was one madam in Australia who wrote an article in Australian mainstream media saying, ladies, like, you guys, you really need to step up with your husbands and stop being such bitches, because half of the time that my girls go out with your husbands, sex doesn't even happen. They just want to talk across the pillow in ways that they know to express feelings in a safe environment where it won't be used against them.
Yep. And once again, like the whole idea that this is men dehumanizing women. when all it is wanting companionship that's not judgmental. Wanting companionship where they can actually talk about their vulnerabilities and know that in a moment of anger, their partner isn't going to bring up the fact that they were beaten by their father with a willow stick, or they were raped by their teacher when they were 7, and other stuff like that, just to try to drive the knife in. As it's like, that's not men dehumanizing women. This is the truth, and this is the truth that these women do not want to look at. They don't want to look at that fact, because what they don't want to look at is the humanity of men. They absolutely want this to be about men objectifying women, because then they don't have to look at the fact that they objectify men. I mean, do you think this woman who's currently eyeballing this guy who creates these sex dolls, do you think she has a dildo? Most likely.
Or a vibrator.
Or a vibrator, most likely. She has, and in her mind, it's perfectly sensible to just want that one part completely disembodied from the whole man. Just want the genitals, and that's it. Doesn't have to care about the person who those genitals would usually be attached to. Don't that doesn't matter. That's irrelevant. That's a non-issue. And then she turns around, being the type of person who probably has a dildo, probably thinks that's all she needs, turns around and looks at men who want the whole, as close to the whole package as possible, and says that they are dehumanizing women. Unfucking, like, look in the mirror. Look in the mirror. Look in the mirror. Okay, let's hear a little bit more.
I got a couple super chats. Joey Jojo gives us $2 and says, "Why is having alternatives to sex creepy?" And then he gives us another $5 and says, "What are men like me supposed to do with our sex drives if we have no outlet for our sex drives?" Well, thank you for those donations. Did you want to answer that?
Just feel bad about yourselves. That's it. That's all you're supposed to do.
That's exactly what you're supposed to do. And God forbid you actually look at porn or something, because you're victimizing women by putting your eyeballs in front of a screen, watching someone like Mercedes Carrera engage in the kind of work that she enjoys, or Anna Cherry, or any number of female porn stars, right? So, I mean, you're victimizing women by doing that. So essentially, yeah, and don't you dare imagine a woman, right, that because that's creepy and stalkerish while you're jerking it. And don't, because she didn't give your consent, her consent for you to use her as masturbation fodder. And for God's sake, don't imagine a woman that you don't know, because you haven't, deeply connected with her on the soul level, right? On the level.
By connecting with her, we mean just her, not your vulnerabilities, just her.
Intimacy, like that. You haven't developed enough intimacy to be able to see her as a fully realized human being yet, and so really you're just going by her looks, right? Or maybe if you're imagining her behaving in a certain way, you're imposing your own desires onto someone who has a fully realized personality and who wouldn't do that. And so that's that. You're wronging her that way. And I mean, there's really nothing you're allowed to do, Joey Jojo. There's nothing you're allowed to do except maybe stare at the wall, clear your mind, jerk it once a week, just to take the edge off, but don't imagine anything, don't look at anything, don't picture anything, don't nothing.
And don't even believe that this is neo-Puritanism, because that's not acceptable either. This is progressivism. We're all liberals here. We all are okay with our sexuality. It's all good, but don't masturbate, don't have sexual thoughts. They're all sinful. Okay, let's listen to a bit more, I think.
So imagine you cut them off at the ankles, and then there's vaginas in that part.
Do you think of someday expanding your business to have other body parts with vaginas that you can in them?
No. We go by what our customers ask us.
You get requests for feet with vaginas.
We've never actually had a request for that, but
But you make them,
yeah, we
assuming,
make them. Yeah.
kind of anticipating what the market might demand.
Yeah.
How do these dolls compare to the real thing?
The body heat. That's something that is hard to mimic.
Pausing for the banana.
I'm guessing that we're seeing a lot of judgment for the vaginas in foot.
Yeah.
Still, it's something that is attached to an actual human being. It's not just the genitals.
There you go. Well, and
weird.
lots of people have foot fetishes, and that's why they do it. They made that, I'm sure. But as far as the body temperature thing, right? I'm sure she's gonna essentially, treat that as a. Okay.
Let's not presume. Let's see where she's going with the body temperature thing.
Currently.
So the only difference between me and her is my body temperature?
Well, I mean,
because you're colder than she is.
Yeah.
Wait. This seems to be a little bit like leading here.
It
seems to be about humor. Did she actually lead him into that? Like, could you put it back a bit? Could you put it back a bit, Brian?
Sure. Okay, here we go.
So the only difference between
No, but it has to go back further because we need to hear what he said. Did he actually say that the only difference between
No. What?
All right, here, I'll play it. I'll play it.
Yeah.
How do these dolls compare to the real thing?
The body heat. That's something that is hard to mimic currently.
So the only difference between
this is bullshit. She just put words in her mouth. First of all, this is an editing job, so I'm sure that they cut out a whole bunch of stuff that he said. So how do these dolls compare to the real thing? Body heat, and then she starts going off on so that's the only difference between me and it.
Well, no, I think he's reasonably assuming because these are just dolls, right? And she knows they're just dolls, and he knows they're just dolls. They don't have robotics in them, nothing, right? And so I'm assuming that he would assume, as I would assume, that what she's asking is, in what ways do these dolls physically compare to the real thing?
Yeah, that would be a
real a woman's actual body, right? And so she's not. Why would she be asking about anything else other than the physical reality of this is a doll versus this is a human body?
That's a good point. But it seems like she's now going into a situation where she's starting.
Oh, she's using it. She's completely putting words in his mouth and thoughts in his head and making it seem like, yeah.
If you say, well, you're taking this as a serious accusation, she'll say, but I was just humor, bro. This just funnies. Just the bants.
Doing it for the
bullshit.
lulz.
You're now making a serious accusation that this is no longer about comedy. This is about you drawing the lines of acceptable human behavior, not poking them. All right, let's hear what she.
I got a couple more super chats I should read. Joey Jojo gives us $2 and says, "Why not allow men to be neutered? I would do that." I'm pretty sure he's being funny. Ram Bam 3000 gives us £5 and says, "Those who are raised in privilege often fail to realize they have it, eh?" Okay, moving on.
True.
And her is my body temperature?
Well, I mean, you the doll, but the doll doesn't you back. Is basically what it is.
So it's pretty much the same
There's
thing.
no emotional connection, really.
Same thing.
Did she say there's no? He said no. There's no connection.
Yeah.
He said there's no emotional connection. Yeah, you have to fuck the doll. The doll doesn't fuck you back, and she's just like, okay, so it's like all the same, right? Same thing
What the
as
hell is
sex with a real woman.
She's joking
I
at the expense of women there, actually. I think
Maybe.
So what she's saying is that there can be no
maybe
emotional connection.
Maybe she's implying that these dolls are just as good as real women because that's how men see them or something, or that's how men see women.
Could be
This
that too.
pervasive attitude, it just drives me fucking nuts. Because it's absolutely the stupidest thing that comes, one of the stupidest things that comes out of feminist theory is this idea of male objectification of women. That's not how our sexuality works. It's like It's the exact opposite of human sexuality. Humans don't sexually objectify. We sexually subjectify. Our sexuality is based on our theory of mind. Literally based on it. If you got rid of human theory of mind, we wouldn't be able to reproduce. Like, listen to what I'm saying. If you got rid of our ability to model theory of mind, if you got rid of humans' ability to model theory of mind, we would no longer have a sexuality. It would be gone.
You know, it's like kind of like Gavin McInnes was telling that Heather Marie Scholl, I believe, in one of his long interviews, where he described to her what a strip club is like. When you go in and feminists all think that these men are like, yeah, like freaking grope that bitch and stuff, right? And but he says it's like a cathedral. It is like a cathedral where men sit quietly in their pews and just stare in awe at women who are presenting themselves as desirable, and also looking at the men as if the men themselves are desired, that these women like being looked at by these men. They like being desired by these men. Right. And this is what men, it is not just the physicality of it. It has everything to do with the attitude of the strippers and how they are able to either harness their desire to be desired, and harness their love of being gazed at by men, to project that back at the men, or how well they're able to mimic that. Right? That's what it's all about. It's not just about tits and ass.
If you listen to sex workers, that's a huge component of it. This is what men hunger for, is the feeling of being desired. And it's absolutely tied into our theory of mind. The whole concept of desire is something that is very, very human. And it's very much about our psychology, because feeling like you are desired by someone you find desirable requires such a complex psychological, a very complex theory of mind, because you're essentially modeling the mental state. You're modeling the mental state of somebody else. So you're modeling the mental state, their mental state of you. So you're modeling their model of you. And it's so tied to everything that we're capable of, all of our cognition. That recursion is essential to our language. It's essential to our ability to create symbolic systems. It's essential to our religion. It's essential to our desire for ritual. Like, our entire civilization is based on that kind of sexual recursion in of desire. If we got rid of that, we would not be who we are. And everything in the feminist playbook, in fact, it's not even just feminism. A lot of religion has this attitude towards male sexuality too. That this idea, the most sinful thing is male desire. That's the male desire to be desired, and women's desire for men is sinful. It's something that should be cast out. And there's a reason for it. And I tell you guys, I'm going to tell you what that reason is. I think it's going to blow a lot of minds. But regardless, the feminist idea that we actually sexually objectify is nonsense. Men sexually subjectify. The sexual response is not to the swollen red buttocks of a baboon, or the pumping out of pheromones. It's to that psychological recursion. You model her desire for you, and that's what you're sexually responding to. And without knowing that she has a theory of mind, that she has a subjectivity, and being able to model that she is modeling you in a positive way, there would be no male human sexuality. It would be gone, because we've evolved to the point where we are completely reliant on it in order to actually reproduce. And like I said multiple times, the feminist conception of male sexuality It is grotesque. It is, and it's a complete and utter lie. All right, shall we do a little bit more?
Sure. I got some more super chats though. First, I'll just read through them real quick. Quaron Strong gives us €2 and says, "Sex dolls don't put words in your mouth. Big plus, but you put stuff in their mouths." You know what I'm saying? Mr. Roboto gives us $2 and says, "So vibrators okay, $1,000 sex dolls not." And Mr. Roboto gives us another $2 and says, "At this point, what counts as a real woman? Women." I mean, he probably means women. And now we'll move on to the next bit of the video.
Will you donate your dolls to help fight against campus rape?
We could discuss it later.
So that's a yes?
I would need to just, figure out what they'd be used for.
To stop rape.
How?
That was actually kind of funny, but...
Yeah, I think he's thinking right now, how would they be used in that manner?
I think she's playing on the idea of him saying, "I maybe," and her saying, "So that's a yes," right? She's essentially saying, doing the, sort of she's reversing the
consent thing.
No means yes, and yes means anal thing. The maybe is always a yes, right? It's just token resistance, right? So, yeah.
Okay, I actually had a thought. So, women are perfectly content to buy disembodied male genitals. Does that impact their beliefs about men's consent? There's a huge belief, man's hard, that means he's agreeing to whatever's happening, or he has a penis, therefore he just agrees. Do you think that maybe the fact that women have this entire industry catering to their desire just to have the genitals and not have to deal with anything else, not have to deal with the actual human attached to them, do you think that might be contributing to the rapiness of women as a whole? Is that possible?
Maybe. I don't know. I'd have to think.
Oh.
I'd have to think about that.
Just like we don't need to consider the man. The men have the whole sex doll. In fact, this seems to be what the male sex toy industry was moving towards, is just having the whole package. Women just whack it off, would just take the genitals. And does that not contribute to the possibility that women are reducing men down to their genitals and don't consider the actual human being attached to that, or the actual consent of the actual human being attached to it? Could that be contributing to the social attitudes that women can't rape men?
Well, I don't know. I don't think so. Simply because this is not an idea that is new. The idea that men are always consenting, or that men, by virtue of getting an erection, have given their consent. I mean, you can see even in old erotica, like Fanny Hill and stuff like that, you see the different approach, when you have the stable boy, and she, I guess it would be described as she seduces him, but in reality, she sort of forces herself on him because he's her servant, and she's in charge of him, and he really doesn't have any choice other than to say no, and he protests the entire way. Right. And when her patron, I guess, walks in on them together, which is something that she set up, he is punished just as severely as she is. Right. He's seen as being an active participant in the situation, as opposed to being a victim of her essentially coercing him into a sexual activity that he repeatedly says he doesn't want, right? And it's the same with black slaves and female, the wives of slave owners and stuff like that, right? There has been always this idea that that men can rape women, women can only seduce men, and the choice, right, to resist that seduction, the option to resist that seduction always lies with the man. So you see men being held up as rapists and women as temptresses. That's all through history. Men are rapists, women are temptresses. So
Yeah, well, dildos aren't new to this era either.
true, but they I don't know that it has much of an. I think it has much more to do with perceptions of moral agency.
Yeah,
than
probably.
It has to, yeah.
Well, I'm just, it could be cart before the horse. Maybe the lack of respect for men's consent is what leads women to be okay with the idea of a disembodied male part and not actually push to have the whole package. They just get rid of the rest of it. I'll just take this part that I like picking out a piece of produce in the market.
Yep.
No, okay, all right. It could be the reverse. So, all right, let's continue.
Okay, Joey Jojo gives another $2 and says, I was raised thinking it was bad to desire women. All right, moving on to the next clip.
A lot of men were, Joey.
Yeah, this is not uncommon.
It's time to stop campus rape in style. Ooh, that's a little asking for it. Maybe just something a little less like asking for it.
What about this?
That's a little asking for it. It's a low neck.
The premise
Maybe
of
a
this is
sweater,
confusing
maybe?
me.
Do you have?
What?
The premise of this is confusing me.
Well, she's trying to dress these sex dolls in a way that
They're not
would
asking
be
for it.
considered neutral,
Mm-hmm.
sexually neutral.
Like she is.
Okay. All right, I think I get it now. I think so. What she's saying is that she's essentially saying that she's going to try to stop campus rape by dressing the sex dolls in a non-sexy way.
Mm-hmm.
Presumably, this is an exact replication of women on college campus, which is actually sort of insulting to women, I would think. Yeah, you're identical to this piece of plastic, this inert piece of plastic.
Well, I mean, I think she really is setting up kind of like a similar thing to take the baby doll home for the weekend, right? And learn what it's like to actually be stuck with a baby. So, like, she's setting up some kind of similar thing, right?
Let me lay out my thesis. I think she's actually saying something about, the whole line of argument that if women don't dress sexy, they wouldn't be raped. That kind of line of argument. She's saying something about that. Except at the same time, in order to say something about that, she's using an inert piece of plastic. So she's also saying something about the violation and the moral agency of the average woman.
You mean the volition?
Volition, yeah. Okay, let's see where she goes with it.
All right, let's see where she goes with it.
Maybe a sweater, maybe?
Do you have any that's like just not asking for it?
I don't have anything that's not asking for it.
Campus rape is a touchy subject, so to get real frat guys to participate in my social experiment, I decided to pitch it as a segment about something else, like partying.
I'm a senior.
Oh, really? So you decided to put them in a sexual situation without giving them informed consent?
Well, there you go.
Wow, I guess it's interesting your methodology here. You're gonna combat sexual assault on campus by perpetrating it against men. That's very clever. It's definitely a unique approach. Definitely. Yeah. Let's combat sexual assault on college campuses by putting these young men in a sexual situation without their informed consent. Wow. Okay, all right. Let's hear a bit more from this person.
Okay, another $2 from Mr. Roboto, and he says, "Why not dress them as nuns or in burqas?" Okay, so moving on. Well, they're not asking for it.
Too sexy. Too sexy.
Well, nuns are kind of. I mean, I've seen some hot nuns in my time.
Yeah.
All right, moving on.
I'm a senior. I'm here for 4 years, and it's my responsibility to get as f***ed up as possible.
Thirsty Thursdays at the Green Turtle, Dollar Natty night, and then house parties mainly on Friday and Saturday.
You don't stop drinking until you pass out, throw up, or get arrested.
Break me off a piece of that. I'm gonna present.
Okay, so now she's essentially hoovering in on a very a potentially vulnerable population. Generally, people who get that drunk are pretty vulnerable to sexual assault. I think we got your number here. What's this woman's name?
Jenna Friedman.
Jenna Friedman. I think we got your number there, Jenna Friedman. All right, let's continue.
She is satirizing into the upper stratosphere, guys. You just can't see the levels of satire that are happening right now. It's
I know. So many layers.
Such satire.
If she actually came upon one of these guys completely dead drunk, unable completely, and then just got him, undressed him, fucked him right there, that would be completely satirizing rape on college campuses. He wakes up and he's trying to push her off and she just keeps going, and that would just she right there, that would be her perfect satire of rape on college campuses. Ugh. Okay, let's keep going.
All right, moving on.
Present to you a challenge, a game. Do you feel comfortable with me? Do I make you comfortable?
Yep, 100%.
Same.
Great.
Here we go.
Oh my god, that is fucking weird.
Meet your new friend. Cannot consent, Carrie. Cannot consent, Carrie. Cannot consent because she cannot speak. You are to take her around with you. Show her a good time like you would any new friend or incoming freshman girl. But most importantly, treat her with respect and make sure your friends do the same.
Go ahead.
Wow, that's
My dog is actually being quiet, Brian. So.
Yeah, and also you're making a lot of noise on your end there, Brian.
This is teaching young men who have shown themselves to be the sort of Animal House types, teaching them how to really treat women using these dolls.
And there's no indication that they have that they're rapists at all. They just like to drink. They have not said anything even remotely about, and so that the presumption here is that she's going to teach them not to rape by giving them dolls that cannot consent because they can't speak. Not because it's ridiculous to even think about the consent of something inanimate. I mean, what is her name again? Do you consider the consent of your dildo before you put it inside you?
Jenna Friedman.
Jenna Friedman, do you consider the consent of your dildo before you put it inside you? No, because it's an inanimate object. Okay? It doesn't, just the fact that men actually want to have the full package, have the actual doll that looks like a human female, does not make that any more of any less of an object than your dildo. So are you going to do this with some sorority sisters? You get like 3 dildos and you say, "Hey, ladies, can you learn how not to rape these dildos? Just give them to them. Like you got to give them a good time, but don't use them."
She can't.
Because God knows.
She can't ask them to carry dildos, Allison. They're all too busy carrying mattresses around school.
Oh, snap.
Okay, let's have another.
Move on.
This is actually really starting to disturb the hell out of me.
Any questions?
So we really have to carry them around for like the next couple days?
Good question, yes. They're quite heavy, but not as heavy as the emotional burden that rape victims must carry around with them at all times.
How do you know that one of these guys wasn't a rape victim himself?
Well, because men don't get raped, Allison.
On Allison,
is why.
Like, this is really disturbing because there's an implicit undercurrent of sexual judgment in this towards
them. Actually, she's behaving in an extremely dominant way as well with them. Like she's sort of acting as like a drill sergeant, and the way she's talking is like, you don't have the opportunity to back out of this if you start feeling uncomfortable. So yeah.
Wow.
I mean, and I know that this isn't actually real life. This is scripted. These guys probably participated as actors,
one would hope.
But one would hope. But essentially, and if they participated because they're just like guys who she stumbled across on a campus and said, okay, like, we're game for this, more like, good on them, like, like, oh yeah, I want to stop campus rape, and maybe this will
No, she said she actually, I mean, hopefully these are actors, because she actually lied to
tricked them
about
into it.
Yeah, she tricked them into it. So she
Yeah.
tricked them into this kind of bizarre sexual judgment, and now she's, no, that you can't back out of it. This is, well, if she wanted to demonstrate female sexual entitlement, she's doing a damn good, bang up job of it.
Yeah,
all right,
she is.
let's watch some more.
Got another super chat. The DCV Titan gives us $5 Canadian and says, if the dolls can't consent, how can they take the dolls anywhere? That would be kidnapping. And Mr. Roboto gives us $2 and says, frats are not positive examples for anyone. All right, continuing on.
Well, but even if they aren't positive examples, these guys haven't done anything. All they said is that we like to drink. I mean, it's dumb. I mean, if you're in a university, you should probably be there to get an education. Why are you there? But being a dumb fuck and putting themselves in a vulnerable situation, that doesn't mean that they are rapists or are doing anything wrong. That is a presumption on her part, including the presumption that none of them have actually been experienced any kind of sexual assault or rape, which is actually not a good place for her to, not a good assumption on her part, because statistically, at least one of them, if not two of them, has. According to the statistics that we've seen coming out of colleges and high schools, something like 40 to 50%, 40 to 60 in some cases, percent of young men, like these three young men, have experienced unwanted sexual contact up to and including rape. Now, not the men who've experienced rape is a subset of that, but it's most likely that one of these men has experienced something like being groped by a man that he was not attracted, or a woman that he was not attracted to, nor was interested in being groped by, or even forced to have sex by a woman that he repeatedly said no to and did not listen. So odds are she's actually talking to a rape victim right now. She's actually talking to one. And she's completely dismissing the possibility because they're men. Female sexual entitlement. I don't even remember her name anymore, so I can't. What was it again? Jackie Friedman?
Jenna Friedman.
Jenna Friedman. Okay, yeah. Great. Thanks, Jenna. You've given us a demonstration of sexual entitlement on campus. You are the demonstration of sexual entitlement on campus. Continue.
All right. Xerings gives another $5 and says, in this scenario, is she not assuming the role of a madam pimping out girls that can't consent to Johns? Feminism doesn't care about women for $1,000.
There you go.
The guys were doing great. But how would they fare here?
So we're gonna be in a bar environment with these dolls. Oh yeah, flip cup!
Just pausing for the banana. This is a little absurd.
It is. It's a little weird.
The fact that the camera crew is around these guys as they're throwing frisbees and playing guitar just makes this all look very scripted. But anyway, moving on.
I think this whole thing is like some kind of test, and I'm like paranoid to do anything. But yeah, we're all mic'd up right now, which I'm like sort of paranoid about. I think it's easy to think you're gonna be put in bad situations or something might get captured on camera that can be taken out of context, but I'm confident that I can handle it.
The morning...
Doing shots off of her stomach.
Oh, God. Oh, so that's all they got,
A lot of women like that. A lot of women find that fun.
Yeah, but they can't consent, remember, because they're inert plastic.
Right,
they're just
right.
Like
Jack
real
Wilson
women.
dildo.
But they couldn't consent to be taken to the bar. They couldn't consent
They couldn't consent to any of this. They couldn't consent to be part of this experiment because
That's
they're
right.
freaking inanimate objects.
Mm-hmm.
Oh dear.
Oh God!
After
But
I
that guy,
stopped by
I
their
like how
flat.
he was
Right.
worried about this. They weren't honest with him about this entire situation. They sprung it on him, and he's like, I'm not really comfortable with this. But you got to do it because you got to show that men are entitled to women's bodies. So you better damn well do what I tell you with your body. Jesus Christ!
All right, moving on.
Yeah.
It's all right.
The morning after, I stopped by their frat to see how it went. Obviously, these are just dolls, but campus rape is a problem. About 1 in 4 undergrads have reported being sexually assaulted or raped on college campuses. We have to figure out, like, what can we do better?
Do you think our words mean a...
I'm just pausing for the banana. We've already done the 1 in 4 thing a bazillion times, so
yeah,
no point in bringing that
No,
up.
1 in 4 is nonsense, and also if you're going to use the same statistics, you get the same number for men.
There you
So
go.
what the hell is the point of going into this place and lecture young men who are just as likely to be raped or sexually assaulted about not raping and sexually assaulting? Why don't you go to a sorority and do the same? Get a... Actually, you know what would have been really funny is if she had gotten 3 male sex dolls and given them to a sorority and then watched what happened. Because I'd imagine that at the end of the night, they wouldn't just be doing shots off of the sex dolls' stomachs.
Oh, all I know is that like years and years and years ago, someone wrote into Reddit. He said that his friend manages a male stripper company, and the strippers all overwhelmingly, even though they're most of them are straight, all overwhelmingly prefer to do men's nights at gay clubs than ladies' nights at straight clubs, because the men know to keep their hands to themselves.
I guarantee if she had done this with a sorority, those male sex dolls would probably be torn to pieces by the next morning. Because she should consider that. Like, there's even male strippers experience the complete and utter disregard of their personal boundaries.
Yeah.
And that's a person. Like, a male stripper is a person, despite what feminists might think. People engaged in sex work are people. I know feminists have trouble with that, but they are people. So
cosplayers too.
Cosplayers are people as well. So a man who is a stripper experiences these violations of his boundary, and that's a person. That's not just a sex doll. You give those sorority girls a sex doll, and let's see what happens. Let's see what happens to it by the end of the day.
Well, and the guy also said that his friend, the owner of this company, was told flat out by the owners of these bars that no, we're not going to police women in that way. We're not going to police their behavior in that way. We're not going to throw women out who get handsy. We're not going to do that because it's not good for our bottom line. They'll do it with gay men, right? And other strip clubs, right, that cater to straight men, they will do it with straight men. But they will not do it with female clientele. They will not enforce the boundaries of the performers, because if they do, these women will just go somewhere else where those boundaries are not enforced.
Can you freaking believe it? That this is the situation.
Well, it's like that Scottish pub where they changed the uniforms of the bartenders and the waiters from kilts to pants because women would not stop putting their hands up men's kilts or lifting men's kilts to see if they're true Scotsmen. It's men that
boundaries.
Yeah, that's right. And so none of these women were, I'm guessing that some of them, when they got really overbearing, would have been escorted out by the bouncer or whatever. But this being Scotland and chavettes being a thing, but yeah, to solve the problem, they did not create a movement, right? respect men and their sexual boundaries, or anything like that, or hashtag something. What they did was they just changed the uniforms so that women who got handsy who wanted to get handsy wouldn't have that. The men weren't asking for it by what they were wearing anymore, right? And so that's how they solved that problem.
Let's continue.
As much as our actions.
I think words do mean a lot, and they can translate into action.
So if we talk about one thing
I
enough
just
that
fucking can't believe it. Like, the attitude on her. She tricked these guys into a sexual situation, gave them no out, insisted. I mean, I guess, we need to respect their autonomy. I guess they could have just walked out. But she is actually the sexual predator in the room, and she has the presumption to actually be judging the others. She had no concept that maybe this is unacceptable. Like, if she had run it by the ethics committee at the university, they probably said, no, we think that this is probably unethical to trick them into a situation like this and even continue it when one of them has expressed discomfort. But no, that's okay in her mind. And simultaneous with being that, with not even understanding that she's actually breaking these guys' boundaries in a sexual manner, because this is all about sexual judgment, she has the presumption to stand there with her chin lifted, like she stands in judgment over them. If she wanted to satirize female sexual entitlement, not just entitlement to men's bodies, entitlement to put them into sexual situations in which they are uncomfortable and then not actually consider their comfort, but also entitlement that as she does those things, as she's breaking their boundaries, judge them for breaking women's boundaries. She's doing a good job. Bravo. She's definitely satirizing
judging them for not taking responsibility for the part that they play in the victimization of women. Because what this guy's arguing is that, you're saying my words are as important as my actions, and I don't think that that's the case. And she's saying, no. Your words, and the things that you say and all of that, those all contribute to the victimization of women.
Yeah, because then she can use to control him. Like, she can use that entire narrative to judge every aspect of his being and his decisions about his life. But then, being in that kind of position, complete dominant position over him, putting women in the position of being the dominatrix over men, that's not, breaking men's boundaries. That's not forcing them into a situation that they might be uncomfortable with. No. That's not something we need to concern ourselves with, is it? Okay. I'm good.
Okay, you're good? All right, super chats. French Honey Badger gives us $5 and says, what if that guy was a woman owner of a sex doll company? Would she try to trap her like that? It's a trap! I would imagine that she would go find a company that was owned by men. Mr. Roboto gives us $2 and says, wouldn't that make those women Weinstein? Or Harvey Weinstein.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on.
It will just happen.
It's
So
called rape culture,
So
if you talk about women like they're not
Here's
people,
the payload.
it contributes to a culture where women are treated not as people.
And the more we talk about it, kids our age think it's cool. You're talking
Yeah,
about.
and kids younger than you watching you. I see the light bulb going off. I'm very impressed with you, Mike.
What? You talk about what?
Rape culture, and he's saying, okay, he's coming around to her way of thinking, and he said something about, kids younger than us think it's cool to talk about women in these ways, in these dehumanizing ways, blah blah blah.
What dehumanizing ways? That they're actually desirable?
Yes, apparently.
And that they want to have their consent to have sex with them? Like, is it really that common? Okay, go ahead.
It's like, no, I just, she's bringing him around, and now he can take the place of take the position as a newly minted male feminist ally hero and warrior against rape culture, and yeah, so that's just gross.
Okay. All I can do is let's get through
Unfortunately,
this.
there was a sticky situation I had to address. I hate to bring this up because it's just, I just wanted to come here and talk to you guys about this, see what you learned, but we found bodily fluid on Charlotte.
She's a piece of plastic. Like, seriously,
No,
this is a piece of plastic.
This is vitally important. That could have been a woman, Allison. Could have been.
Yep. Could have been a woman.
Ugh.
Did you inside Charlotte?
No, I did not do that anywhere near Charlotte.
How do you explain that there was like a Windexy viscous bodily fluid that I would imagine was semen inside the doll's vagina?
It must have happened after I left or when I wasn't there, because I know it wasn't me.
Okay, I'm just pausing for.
God, this is actually really awful.
It is. It's
now
I'm getting grossed out now.
I'm actually disgusted by this woman now, because this is getting worse and worse. Like, they didn't consent to this. They didn't consent to be part of this sexual thing, and now, this is her sexually abusing these guys. Does anybody pick up on that? Like, she's putting them in a sexual situation, and now she's grilling them about their sex lives. I mean, if this was a man in this situation saying, "Oh, we found bodily fluids on this dildo of yours. Now we're going to grill you about it." Do you realize how creepy that would be?
Yeah.
Like, why are they suddenly on a tribunal?
Mm-hmm.
Sexual tribunal. And Windexy, did she say waxy fluid or Windexy?
Windexy.
Windexy.
I don't know what that
so what,
means.
it was blue?
Yeah, no, like the whole idea that semen is Windexy is
bizarre.
A little weird.
Yeah,
okay,
it's weird. Okay.
Because it's kind of mucusy, actually. So.
Yeah.
This is taking a very dark turn, so let's continue.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm 100% positive I did not inside, can't consent carry. I'll take a DNA test to prove it.
Can you say it one more time, a little bit more, like a spontaneous thought emerged from your head?
This is scripted, Allison. It's scripted, Allison. It's scripted, Allison. It's scripted.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, this is likely not real.
I hope so, because if this is an individual who's been cornered into this situation, it's horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's at the same time, it's depicting something that is would be horrible as if it's funny, or clever.
Yeah.
So.
I will take a DNA test to prove I did not inside the doll.
Yeah.
The person who inside the doll was someone from our crew.
So basically, it could be anybody, even somebody working on an anti-rape production. It was someone from our crew who came inside the doll. It's the man you least expect, Allison.
Sorry, Joe. I'm sorry I falsely accused you. How did that make you feel?
It's awkward because it's hard to like defend against that. Like, you can say no all you want, but if people don't believe it, then it can be a big misconception that can kind of haunt you down the road.
Mm-hmm. A lot of times people don't believe victims of sexual assault too.
What the hell?
Of course. I saw that coming.
Yeah.
And why would that
threat neutralized?
Okay, maybe this is, I don't know.
No. They brought up the fact that he was falsely accused so that she could neutralize it in the next sentence by saying a lot of times victims aren't believed.
But the thing is that even if you are a victim, you're not going to be considered to be a criminal. because of what you've experienced.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to be necessarily socially ostracized unless people think that you lied about it.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a flip. That was a dodge.
Yeah, okay. We're almost at the end here.
Yeah. Do you want to just finish
Amazing.
it?
Let's just finish it.
Let's just finish it.
Yeah.
Thank you. You're a true gentleman. Or you appear to be one. I don't know you personally, so I'm just making a leap of faith.
Thank you.
Thank you for approving of my identity.
Good Lord. You're a true gentleman. This is the one thing that's like the ultimate pat on the head for men. You're a gentleman. Oh, I'll just keep doing that. Hopefully it won't lead to me stabbing a bunch of women and trying to kill some dudes. Or stabbing a bunch of men, rather.
I'm kind of feeling grossed out now, guys.
Yeah, me too. This is repulsive.
He's a real man now. He's a real man now. It's like the fairy from Pinocchio came and just touched him on the nose and gave him life.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jenna Friedman, for using your feminine Jew powers to give that man life and make him real.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was a thing. That now exists somewhere on the internet. Like, she goes through, you guys are saying it's all actors, but presumably the presentation is that they're not. So we're supposed to assume that they just went into this without even knowing this situation where they're going to be put through this, like, in my opinion, the false accusations of sexual assault are in themselves sexual assault. I would argue, because just from the how people have described and men have described the response to a false accusation, they have the same symptoms as a rape victim.
Yeah. They
have a fear of people. They have a fear of of having sex or being sexual with people. There's very similar fallout, emotional fallout from false accusations as there is from actual rape victimization. And that's what she put them through. And you say that these are actors, but this isn't presented like these are actors. This is presented like these are people, these are men who've just been tricked into this situation where they're going to have their boundaries violated by this creature, this creepy predatory woman who's going to try to make it all out as a joke, which...
But then it gets serious at the end.
Then it gets serious at the end. All right. Okay.
Like
anyway,
an episode of The Simpsons.
Even the most humorous chick tracks have to have a religious moral at the end so that you go to heaven or become a real man.
Well, there you go. We had the religious moral at the end. I guess these guys go to heaven and become real men.
Only the one.
Only the one.
Yeah, the other
Only the
two
one who
did.
was falsely accused.
Yeah.
You see, that's how he becomes a real man. A woman falsely accuses him, and he learns from the experience.
There you
and
go.
becomes a gentleman through it. Because he learns how to sympathize with rape victims. It's the only way that men will ever learn how to sympathize with rape victims is to become falsely accused. And then they can understand what a rape victim goes through. Okay.
All right.
I
guess take us out.
We did it. We did an entire Rantzerker.
It wasn't even a short one.
Well, no, it was not. It didn't get up to 2 hours, but we did the whole thing.
Yeah, we did the whole thing. It wasn't even a short video that we were picking apart.
That's what I mean. It wasn't even a short video.
No, but yeah. Okay, well, thank you for joining us.
We managed to,
Thank you for joining us. If you want to join us in the after show, and we'll find something to rant about in the after show, it'll be a short after show. www.patreon.com/HoneyBadgerRadio. Our supporters make this content possible, and I appreciate them greatly. We all appreciate them, I think.
Yeah.
Of course, you
except
also
for me. Except for me. I don't appreciate you guys.
Karen appreciates nothing. Nothing.
I appreciate no one.
All right. I think I need a bath now.